Азовнефтепродукт. Тут заправляем мы.
Well, we made it to the Ukraine easily. Engine absolutely fantastic. Taking into account that the ambient temperature here has hit 46 degrees at some point while we were travelling. Okay, we were driving through and it was just absolutely scorching. All right, engine sat at 88 degrees centigrade. That's fantastic. All right, didn't waver on this gauge I got here. All right, this is actually plumbed in to the outlet and not into the engine, so what I'm actually watching is the temperature of the water going out of the engine. Alright, when it's cooler you can see the thermostat actually working. It's working, shutting and opening again. It doesn't read while it's cold, and then as soon as it starts to open it shows you. Alright, you let the vehicle sit and the hot heat comes up to the top and then goes out of the top hose. Basically, yeah, fantastic. It's pulled all the way with no problems, and as part one of our road tests, right, part two is actually getting back to England, okay, with no problems. She's burning a little bit of oil on start up in the mornings, all right, but not losing it at all. And we've done 2,000 miles already, so that's a good indication that must be stem seals. When I get back to England, I'll change them. And that should stop any oily smell first thing in the morning on start up, because what happens is the oil actually drips when the engine cools down. The oil drips down the valve itself, and you start up and that just burns a little bit off, but as the engine obviously expands with heat, it stops the flow of oil through there, so we're all right, no problems there. It's quite a dusty atmosphere here, and I really could have done with bringing another air filter along with me. I can't find one in this country anywhere. Alright, I've also had to change the alternator belt. This alternator really does drag the belts along, alright. I've got 2 batteries fitted now, alright, and if these have been used overnight by my children, alright, in the morning this piece of apparatus actually will slip first of all. Now some on here, if you look at the vehicle, alright, looking on the off side, most of the weight is actually shifted down that way, and that is where it's sitting at the moment. On the top of the roof rack, the weight shifted slightly forward as we're going over bumps all the time. It's actually moving just very, very slightly, alright. But the weight has moved over to the offside rear, which is putting quite a lot of stress on that spring. The suspension seems to be keeping up with itself though. The sheets come undone on the top of the car. First mistake we made, having a roof rack. The second mistake we made, actually not having enough space to carry. This is just about on its maximum weight at the moment, and on the rear springs, the back end's sagging, which is not good. While we've been driving, the vehicle tends to lean to the near side all the time, right? That's where we've had most of the damage on the vehicle so far, including a tyre. Is twisted, alright, and here is a rather large bulge.
Yes, it does that.
Rather large bulge. It's a good idea to bring as much weight forward as possible and off from the driver's side. Being as a lot of the roads tend to have a dip and all the damage is near the curbside. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Oh, that's nasty, huh? They've repaired the road and it's just sunk again. And don't forget we're driving on the other side of the road here, so me being 100 kilograms nearly, right, what I've had to do is shift most of the weight over to the passenger side to try and balance it a bit more. And it's still, you can feel the car sit down into those bumps, and every time you go over a bump, just to give you an idea how rough these roads are, you can hear the banging, the suspension and the bump stops hitting the axle quite often. If it isn't that, then it's the tyre rims hitting potholes. There's just thousands of miles of really bad road and then suddenly you'll hit a very good piece of road, and then it goes back to being bad again and rough. The springs are held out though, luckily. We'll see how far we can get. We've only got another 3,000 miles to go, possibly. Once we've done a little trip around the Ukraine, then it's straight through Europe again. That won't be so bad. Alright, what we got is 2 broken shock absorbers. Alright. Snapped off cleanly on both sides. Alright. They snapped off in the Ukraine. It's very dangerous to drive this vehicle because the back end is bouncing, and any bumps or whatever, the bouncing just continues constantly. Alright, now I've got to find a way of repairing these. They're not even a month old. They're genuine Land Rover parts, and welding these up, I presume that they'll refuse warranty, but I don't have a choice. We're a couple of thousand miles away from home.
It's
yeah, alright. I'll just have to weld these up myself, and find German garage that can do them for nothing. How about that? Fantastic. We can get them fitted and on our way. Sure. Okay, the other bit of damage we've actually sustained is a bent drag link end, drag link rod. All right, that is bent like a banana. It isn't too much of a problem. It's actually turned the steering wheel round. What I'll have to do is possibly get a jag in there and push it down for now. We hit a raised manhole cover on a rough road, and knocked that right up. All right, so we're doing all right at the moment. Nothing stopped us yet.